welcome to Office Hours. For those of you, joining us for the first time, Rokoko Office Hours is just kind of an opportunity for us to hang out with some customers or prospective customers, talk about mocap, workflows, anything and everything. And then I'm going to be working on a little creative project in the background. I'm Sam. I'm the creative director for Rokoko, and it should be fun. So what I have been doing is starting these streams, just looking at some of the content that's been produced and things that have been happening in the last week. So I thought we'd go through a couple cool things that we've seen. Let me hop over to my other screen here. So this was a little Flash CG run test. I'm not sure who it was made by, but the poster was Oros Gabra. Looks super cool. Using some Rokoko tech paired up. I don't know if this is Unreal or what this is rendered with, but it looks super clean and great. So this was an awesome piece. Let's go down the rabbit hole here a little bit. Let go. Super awesome. Let's do a little post. It does look great. What else do we got? We have a couple other fun things. So this is just, I think somebody was working on a project and booted up the old MetaHuman, it looks like. Looks like a little MetaHuman project. So that one was a fun one to see. Another amazing piece, Lemo director. Done with some marvelous designer, it looks like. Hey guys, hey mods, McRibs, NH. We got some questions. I just want to show off a couple more of these quickly, and then we'll get to your questions. Just another one, Plastic by Sisters, Lepe. Little dance, looking great. Coming in on a hoverboard. Maybe also marvelous designer, because it looks like, yep, the cloth is dynamic, so that's awesome. And then, yeah, so Griffin Moore, I saw this as well. And so this is a streamer who was actually featured on Code Miko. So they've been up to their stream, and you can find them on YouTube. And their channel is Griffin Moore. Yeah, so awesome, Griffin, looking good. Yeah, so just a couple fun things to take a peek at. Shut this guy off. And yeah, so hello, everyone. So mods, first question, is there a way to import mocap animations back to Rokoko Studio to fix or change something? So no, there currently is not a way to do that, but there might be a way coming. We have Rokoko Studio 2.0 coming out very shortly, and I can't say a lot about it, but maybe it'll fix this problem. So mod, stay tuned for that. But no, with the current Rokoko Studio, you cannot do that, unfortunately. There is a sleeping dog, McRibs. That's Bocce. She is sleeping and ignoring me, trying to. NM, sorry. Hi, is there a way to bake the animation or something to something more editable later? Like regular animation spline curves. NM, maybe you can elaborate what software you're working in, because there are ways to bake. I mean, the animation gets baked to your character in Rokoko Studio, but there are also ways to edit everything depending on what software you're in. So let me know what software you're in. I'm going to just close my door. Yeah, so NM, just let me know what software you're working in, and we can talk about it some more. So in the meantime, Nico, and so are you talking about Rokoko Studio animations like that you made with a suit? Let me know. There's always a 10-second delay, which always gets me. I always forget about that. But we are going to be working in some Maya today. So I'm going to be editing mocap in Maya, and basically what I thought we would do today, because it's kind of I've been working on a big VTubing series that's going to be coming out soon, because we keep seeing more and more customers using VTubing setups, so we just want to support that effort. But as a little break, I thought we would just make something fun, and also show off kind of a recommended workflow that I use. Nick, what's going on? So that workflow generally is, I'm going to be in Rokoko Studio. I already recorded some mocap. We're going to export it out. We're going to apply it to our characters in Maya, which is what I always do, and I always recommend Maya for all retargeting, because it is just the best workflow for whatever reason. It gives you the best results, or at least for me. You can do retargeting in other programs, but I use Maya. If I'm making a scene, I'm using Maya to do my retargeting. So we're going to do the retargeting in Maya, maybe edit the mocap a little bit, and then send it over to Cinema4D and build the little scene. So maybe that will answer some of your questions. There is a way to bake the animation to your character, which I'm going to be doing, and then you can go in and use Butterworth or whatever, or you can play with the splines and stuff like that. So we'll go through all that. Yeah, capture NM, capture the mocap in Rokoko Studio, export to Maya. Yeah, so we're going to be doing that. Let's do it right now, because that's what we're doing today. Oh, I see what you mean. You want to edit on top of the mocap. So we do have tutorials for that in Maya, that I think we put one out a month ago or something like that. But I'm going to go through it myself right now, so you can stay tuned and let's go through it. And you can ask questions and everything. Should be fun. Okay, so, right. The idea for this animation today, I thought, and we can go on tangents if you all are feeling it, but I thought this would be a good thing to do, is basically I have this mocap, and I thought we could do it's like a tight on a mech driver guy on the ground, and then he does some Thor Ragnarok control bracelets, and then you pan out and the robot is doing what the person is doing. And so that's going to be kind of what we're doing. So to do that, we need to add our animation to both the robot and to the Mech-Pilot. We're going to use the same animation for both. And again, this was recorded using my Smart Suit Pro with my smart gloves. You can see that the hands don't quite connect, and that's okay. That's what we're going to be editing, NM, in Maya, to get those wrists, fully banging on each other. And use smart gloves. And, I just recorded this right in my little office here, and I used an external standalone dedicated router that I have for my Wi-Fi network. And I just mentioned that because I always recommend using a dedicated Wi-Fi router when you're recording mocap that is not connected to the internet. And just because you have a lot more control in terms of sometimes your router that you're using, because the Rokoko tech all works off of Wi-Fi. Sometimes the Wi-Fi router is in another room or something like that, and that's going to give you funky results sometimes. So I have my own dedicated router I just switch to when I'm recording mocap. It's right in the room right here. I'm on a 5G network. It's super snappy. So I just mentioned that because I try to mention it as much as I can, because I recommend getting this router. It's a small investment if you've invested in a suit, and it doesn't need to be a fancy router. The important thing is just it's dedicated. There's no one on 4K YouTube videos in the other room eating up your bandwidth. Just makes things cleaner. So, got our animation. This looks great to me. So we're going to export this guy. I'm not going to rename it because we don't need to. It's not a complicated project we're doing. So I'm going to use the Maya Human IK skeleton. I always recommend this skeleton. It's just the cleanest, and especially because we're going to be working in Maya, there's already a preset. But I just always recommend the skeleton regardless, because it's very industry standard. I'm going to be exporting at 30 FPS. Hit export. Let's do it. And so, Motorix. I have the problem that the hands are crossing while the actor is hand on hand and he tips. SH, so quickly before that, Motorix, SH, no. And if you do use two routers, you wouldn't be able to use the same computer. If you have one dedicated router, it should work for both suits. The more suits you add, the more things you have going, the less bandwidth there is for each component, right? So it can get tricky, and sometimes what I've recommended is you just use two computers when you're recording a scene with two suits, and that way you can ensure you have the best result. And in that case, I might use two routers. But no, I mean, if you have one router, especially on 5G, in my experience, it should be fine with two suits, especially if you're not using gloves. Motorix. So yeah, the hands will cross. That's just, unfortunately, a part of... kind of a part of inertial mocap. It's just that you're gonna try and touch your head and the hand might go through your head, and that's unfortunately kind of par for the course. There's things you can do to fix that, like maybe you can act to this, you look at the screen and kind of stop your hands. The other thing you can try doing is calibrate the character. Using your bone measurements, like get really detailed. This is really hard to do though, and we generally don't recommend it. So really the solution for the hand crossing while you're trying to clap is doing some cleanup. And that's just kind of the way that it is. Motorix, if you tell us what software you're working in, I can give you some tips or show you a tutorial to help with that. But unfortunately, those sorts of things with inertial mocap, is just kind of the way it goes, and there's no real solution other than maybe, again, changing your calibration pose to kind of try to fix that issue. So if you when you're doing your calibration pose, you hold your hands in slightly, then they'll be out slightly for the rest of the time you're doing mocap. But that gets messy. Really, the trick is just cleanup. But fortunately, it's pretty easy these days. We have a lot of tutorials about how to do that cleanup. So if you're in Maya, stay tuned. But also, there's ways to do it in Blender, Cinema4D, Unreal even. SH, if two users physically interact with each other, then will there be a lot of cleanup? No, I mean, there will probably be cleanup. It depends on what they're doing. It also depends on, I actually think if you were using two computers when you were doing your recording with two suits, there would actually be less cleanup in some ways. Actually, no, I don't know if that's true. I don't think there would be as much cleanup because you would just position the characters to be farther away from each other. Like if they're doing a high five, you would just maybe move. Grappling, fighting. Yeah, there's probably going to be cleanup because it's just the nature of the beast a little bit. So yes, probably there would probably be cleanup. A lot of cleanup, it depends on what they're doing exactly. Boxing is going to be a lot less than grappling. I mean, grappling is going to be cleanup just because when you retarget to your characters, they're going to be different sizes and things, and they're not going to be your characters are not going to be the same exact size as your actor, much less as the mocap skeleton. So there's going to be cleanup usually. If there's interaction with any objects or other people, there's usually always going to be cleanup, and that's just kind of the way that it is. Motorix, let me grab this tutorial here. Cinema4D Rokoko edit. Type that guy in. You can use the Vive trackers, SH, in theory, to calibrate real space better, but I think that's honestly, it's gonna give you more problems. Yeah, of course. That's why we do office hours. Thanks for coming into the office. Answering questions. That's why I'm here. But what I would recommend doing is just record it straight up and then do the cleanup, and that's gonna be easier in the long run than messing with a Vive tracker and trying to get them to work, which they can, but it gets trickier, and then you've got Vive in the mix. I don't even know if you're using Vive or you have that ability. The Connect is not really going to help. Yeah. So hold on. Let me edit your mocap. So this is Motorix. Check this out. This is a little tutorial that we made. So you can edit mocap if you're just working in Cinema 4D. It's often easier in Maya, but most Cinema 4D people don't use Maya. So this is a way you can do it just in Cinema. And Motorix, is Wi-Fi without internet connection enough? In the moment, I think I'm going to try to find a way to record outside. Yeah, so is Wi-Fi without... Yeah, Wi-Fi without internet connection that's great. Yeah, you just want your router to be near the suit, if you can. Yeah, I hope that... I don't know if that... Keep asking that question, if Motorix, if I didn't answer it correctly. SH, I'm trying to figure out if I should use 2 suits simultaneously or just use one at a time. You know what? No, if you were recording a grappling scene, SH, and this is just my opinion now, this is like leaving the realm of, I mean, I don't know. Nobody knows anything in CG. Everyone's making it up. I think that's always good to say, but this is me making it up. What I would do is I would record, unless you're very choreographed, if you have 2 suits, I would record simultaneously. Be it 1 computer, 1 router, 2 computers, 2 routers. Either way, it's going to be nice to have those motions timed up correctly with the 2 fighters and grapplers. Even if you have to do the editing, if you do it separately, I think the problem is going to be even more so than the cleanup. Then you have retiming issues, right? Somebody leaned up at a different time. So now you're doing cleanup and you're doing retiming as opposed just to cleanup. So that's the advantage of recording simultaneously. So that's what I would do. Hello, Visual. Getting these questions. This is great, guys. Keep them coming. Hello from Colombia. Recording music video content. Is there a way we can trigger music using the Rokoko software? So there isn't a way to trigger music using the Rokoko software. But what you can do is trigger music using Unreal or Unity and stuff like that. So, you know, you can pipe your mocap into an Unreal project live and have the Unreal project trigger music or have custom blueprints or do things like that. The hands get, you know, within a certain range of the drum and you get a drum beat sound. So you can do that sort of thing if that answers your question. But Rokoko Studio software like this, what we're looking at right here, this is just for mocap, right? There's no real other things you can do with the software. You have to take it into Unreal or whatever. Yeah. NM, is it possible to use the... You know, I'm not actually sure. I think it is. Yes. I want to say yes. Don't crucify me if I'm wrong. But I'm pretty sure that it is. Because, you know, if your battery is off, when you plug in your suit, it'll show up and you just hit record and you just go. So, yeah, it is. Yeah. So I'd try that. But I'm not sure because I've never done it. So that's a bad answer. But I'm pretty sure that it is. Let's just do it. That's why we're here. Let's do it right now. Hold on. I'm barefoot. Bear with me. So I've got my suit right here. I'm going to it's unplugged from the battery. I'm going to plug it in using my USB. Take these guys out. Right, no, I'm not connected. So actually, I don't know if you can. I don't think that you can. NM. For the suit to show up, you need to... No, actually, I don't think that you can. Because... Excuse that little intermission. Because for the suit to show up, you still have to be pairing it to the Wi-Fi network. So, no. I don't think that you can, unfortunately. That's an interesting thing to look into, though, and we'll look into that. Sorry about that. NM, it is live. We are testing stuff live. Yeah, unfortunately, again, I wish that you could use it wired, but I don't think that you can. I'm sure there are very good reasons for that I could talk to the engineers about. Okay, so we've exported our mocap for those of you who are joining. We are making some Mech-Pilotness. Bagheera, good to see you again. And we just exported out this animation from Rokoko Studio. So next thing we're going to do is we're going to take it over to Maya. The character that I'm going to be using is from Character Creator 3. NM, I think we're working on getting a Discord set up. So that will be the place to do it. Yeah. I'll ask. I'm sure there's a reason that you can't do it. That has to do with the function of the suit. Maybe not. Maybe it's something we could enable. You know, we have a Reddit that actually wasn't started by us, but we check it a lot, and so you can always put it on the Reddit. And then we're working on getting a Discord set up, and there is a feedback area. I think it's on the website, but I'll definitely come with the link next time, because yeah, we don't want to lose track of this, and I just wrote it down for myself. To ask the dev. So check back next week and maybe I'll have an answer. Cool. Okay, so yeah, the character for the Mech-Pilot we're going to use is, I thought it'd be kind of cool if he was like barefoot. So I created this character in, of course, yeah, NM. I created this character in Character Creator 3. If you're looking for characters, there's always Mixamo, there's Daz, there's Character Creator, which is a Reallusion product, which is very expensive, but is great if you have the money for it. I love this character. Don't like his little shirt, belly showing through, but that's okay. Kind of once you see it, you can't unsee it. This little tiny belly poking through there. But yeah, this is the character we're going to use. So in the interest of just going through the workflow, once you've created a character in Character Creator 3, you have the export function of Character Creator. You can export in FBX. In this case, because we're taking it... Mark, I think it should. Good to see ya. Cake is delicious. I think an extra large probably should fit you fine. But one thing you can always do, Mark, if you're thinking about buying, and I also just recommend this to everyone, is you can set up... We have a fantastic team who does live one-on-ones. So you can go to Rokoko.com. I think it's Rokoko.com/book-demo, but a pop-up will show up when you go to the site, and you can book a live one-on-one, and you can really like drill down into those questions, and our team will like make sure that the suit is going to be right for you and will fit and everything. I think it should, though. We've had tall people in suits before, and it's the suit is made to fit a lot of different types of bodies. So it's done by height, and then it's supposed to kind of cover, like there's no real weight measurement for the suit. But book a one-on-one, and they can drill in a little bit more. And it's always good. I just always think it's good to talk to our team before you buy, just to make sure that this is what you want. It's always a good thing for an expensive piece of hardware. Anyway, so we are exporting this guy out. I'm going to choose the Maya option, just the mesh, default pose T-pose. Whenever you're working with Rokoko mocap, you want it to be a T-pose, not an A-pose, because we're not going into Unreal, we're going into Maya. And then the only other thing that I normally hit, I'm not going to use facial mocap in this one, so we don't need to do this mouth open as morph, which allows you to work the lower jaw. But I am going to hit use T-pose as bind pose, which is good to hit too, because we want that to be our rest pose. And I believe that's the same thing. It's bind pose. So anyway, I would hit export. I've already done this, so I'm not going to export them out, but that's kind of how you would export out a character from Character Creator 3 for use in Maya to make a project. So close, already exported them out. Don't want to save. Okay, so now we're going into Maya. Let's get some mocap on our character in Maya and then edit it. NM, if that was who was asking those questions earlier. Yes, NM. This is what you stuck around for. Okay, so let's export our CC3 character here. Navigate through my semi-messy folder structure. Actually, it's pretty good if I do say so myself. Import the FBX. And I'm going to open up my old OBS. And I'm going to move myself over to here because I don't want to block anything. Okay, so we got our character looking a little bizarre in Maya, but looks better in Cinema once we get him over. One thing is it exported with the boxers, which we actually don't need. I'm just going to delete these boxers, and we can go back to shaded display mode. So as you can see, it exported in a T-pose. And the other thing that's really nice about Character Creator 3 is it exports the thumbs and hands in a way that really is what you want for working with Rokoko smart gloves. You want the hands to be laying flat with the fingers in a straight line. And you want the thumb to kind of be right alongside. So I really like that about Character Creator 3. Otherwise, you got to move the thumb into position or whatever. I could probably move it a little bit, but I don't need to. I could do that. Let's do that. Let's do it. Let's move those thummies in a little bit. Click. Boop. Yeah. So you want them. That's how you kind of want them to be positioned. So how do we do our retargeting? So actually, let's go and let's grab. No, we're going to characterize our character first, and then we're going to go do the retargeting and pull in our mocap. So if you have never worked with Maya before, but really with retargeting at all, and I won't talk about this too long, but basically retargeting mocap works by telling whatever program you're in, you make a list of your character's bones, and you make a list of your mocap bones, and it's called character definition. And basically, once you've made those lists, telling the computer program, in this case Maya, hey, this is the hip bone. This is the left upper leg bone. This is the left calf bone. Once you've defined those bone lists, Maya can transfer the mocap data onto your character. But it can only do that after you've told it which bones are which. Otherwise, it doesn't know where to put the data. Even if they're named the same, you need to make these character definitions before you can retarget the mocap. So let's go through and do that. I'm going to go click this Maya Human IK panel up here, create character definition, and now I'm just going to starting with the hips. If you right click on this bone in this little window here, I can hit assign selected bone, and then basically I'm just going to go down through the list, and I can use my arrow keys to toggle between these bones, and I'm just going to add them all to this list. So I'm going kind of quick. Ask questions if you have it, but I've done this a lot, so I tend to go a little bit fast. We're grabbing the base head, assign it to the head. Actually, if you hit shift and untoggle the trees, it'll do the entire tree, which is very nice. So we need to, then we're going to left clavicle, upper arm. And you can see because this mirror mode is turned on, when I do the left side, the right side gets done as well, which is really convenient. So I only have to do this once. Left forearm, ignore twist bones. Always ignore twist bones. At least I do. You just want bend bones. Twist bones are for an extra level of animation that we're not going to use. Left hand, assign. We're going to do these fingers. So you can see I'm doing the pinky. Now I'm doing the ring. Now I'm doing the mid. Boop, boop, boop. And again, you can see why it's nice that you only have to do this once. And the thumb. So the right side is done automatically, as you can see, which is great. Now we just need to do these leggies, which are right here. Left thigh, boop. Left calf, boop. Left foot, boop. And left toe base. There we go. So characterized. And actually what I'm going to do in this case is I'm going to save out this preset, because I've never had a preset for Character Creator 3. So CC3 is what I'm going to call it. Boom. So now if we brought in another character from Character Creator, we wouldn't have to do this. We just hit load. And in fact, what we're about to do is bring in our mocap and use a preset on that. So let's do that. So let's import. I'm going to go grab my mocap that I exported here. Import. Here's the mocap. I don't want to be in 60. I want to be in 30. Do a kneeler. Yeah. Okay, ready to go. So the nice thing about exporting, again, we exported this using the Maya Human IK skeleton. And the nice thing about that is when you bring that into Maya, if we, and let me move my guy again here. I'll move up to here. But here's my mocap. If I go and I'm going to hit none on my character here because I want to create a new definition. Here's my mocap. I'm going to click on the hips. And then I'm just going to click load up here. And I can select HIK, which comes with Maya. Hit OK. Boom. Defined. And then from there, it is as easy as selecting our original character. So character 1, and I can rename this actually. Let's see, CC3 Sean. You know, that's our character. And then the source of the animation or the motion is going to be our mocap, character 2. And looky here. We got our mocap on our character. So, NM. Now is the time to talk about how we do some editing, because there's a couple things that I don't like about this. One thing is that when we clash our mech bangles that are going to glow or whatever, like Thor Ragnarok, if you guys have seen that, they don't quite touch. So we got to fix that, which is easy to do. And then the other thing that I want to fix is I don't like these shoulders. Shoulders are looking gross. They're just Character Creator. Yeah. Yeah. So that's what we're about to do, NM. Character Creator 3 has these shoulder issues that I don't like. It just looks a little... The shoulders look bunched up, which is kind of gross. So NM, there's two ways to do this. One is to use a control rig, which I don't think we're going to do. We're just going to use the bones manually, but we have a tutorial that's coming out shortly about using a control rig. We already have a tutorial on how to edit the bones themselves, but you can also use a control rig, which is layering IK. So, NM, this is, let me go through this and then maybe let me know if this answers your questions or does not. So we've got our mocap paired with our character, right? At this point, we want to bake the animation onto the skeleton of our character. So I click this button up here. There's a bake thing. I go to bake to skeleton, which is different than bake to control rig, which is another way that you can edit mocap. But we're going to bake to skeleton. So at this point, I'm going to delete my mocap. Don't have mocap in the scene anymore. Now this animation is straight up baked to my character's skeleton. So at this point, what you do, NM, is basically we are going to edit a couple things. I haven't mods, but I've seen people who've done things like that. Yeah, and you can totally just isolate what you're doing the retargeting for or whatever to like the top half of a dragon, and it absolutely works. There's actually a great dragon on the Daz marketplace that is set up in a way that you can use the mocap to drive it. But you can do it with any bones, right? Retargeting is just transferring rotational data from one joint to another joint. And it doesn't matter if it's a human or a dragon. All the program cares about is it a joint? And so at that point, you can control anything. So you can totally do stuff like that. Anyway, okay, and I'm sorry, I won't get distracted. So what I'm going to do is we are going to edit the right forearm to basically hit the left forearm. So the way I'm going to do that is I'm going to go and I'm going to find the right forearm right here. Boop, see, I move it around, but it's not going to do anything because it's keyframed. So how do we add animation to this pre-keyframed thing? Well, the way we do it is we open up the channel box layer editor over here on the right, and we go to anim, and we select the bone that we want to be adding an animation layer on top of to do editing. In this case, the right forearm. I'm also going to select the right clavicle and the left clavicle because I'm going to bring those guys down first before we do anything. So I select all the bones I want to edit, and you can add more bones after. But usually I try to select all the ones I think I'm going to edit right in one layer. And then I hit this create layer from selected, this one with the circle on it right here. And as soon as you do that, you can see that we have our base animation, and then we have an anim layer on top of it. And also what you might have seen is even though I have these bones selected, now there's no longer keyframes in the timeline. And I think if I switch back to that base layer, you can see that there are keyframes, but we're not working on that base layer. We're working on an animation layer on top of it. So I never go into the bigger animation layer window. I just work right here because I don't need to see all the other stuff. But at this point, what we can basically do is just key the changes that we want to do. So I'm going to change these. Oh, and you know what? We actually need to do the upper arm, left upper arm, and right upper arm as well. So I'm going to how do I add? Oh yeah, I'm going to add selected objects to this layer. So I've got those upper arms selected. So now they're a part of this anim layer too. Because the first thing I'm going to do is I'm just going to bring the clavicle, right clavicle, down. I'm going to key it, hitting S in the timeline. You can't see it, but a keyframe is just added to the timeline. Then I'm going to bring the arm back up, key it, and I'm going to do the same for the left. I'm going to bring it down, key it, and I'm going to bring the arm back up, key it. So at this point, yeah, it kind of fixed that shoulder looking gross issue, right? But we still have this problem, and it might have even been accentuated by what I just did with the shoulders, of the wrists not connecting. So in that case, I'm going to go and I'm going to grab that right forearm, and what we're going to do is when Boom. That should be the hit right there. Of the wrists. Boom. I'm turning them on. Thor Ragnarok style. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to move this guy down. Ooh, and over to the left. Like that. I'm going to key it. And then what you can do is you can go, see, if I key it right here, it's going to be for the entire, you know, the entire mocap. And that's not what I want. I want it to be the original mocap, go to my keyed moment, and then go back to the original mocap. So what you can do, which is really handy, is right here. So this is, you can't really see it, but down in the timeline, there's keyframes. They're little red lines. They're really hard to see. But right before I want my, you know, I want to go from the original animation and then key it at the point where I want it to connect, go back to the original animation, key it, go back to the original animation. And so to get back to the original animation, you can zero the key layer. So boom. So I added a keyframe and it went back to the original animation. Boom. Boom. And actually, I don't need to key it again, but what I can do, like, I don't need to change the keyframe again, but I can just add a keyframe here, S, and then go back to original animation. Boom. So let's watch that. Yeah, there we go. So, boom, boom. Hopefully that helps. And then NM, let me Maya edit mocap Rokoko. Find this one. So this is this whole process that I just went through in tutorial form. So hopefully this is a little bit clearer than the word vomit that I just gave out. So you can check that. And we're going to have another tutorial coming out shortly about how to do it using control rigs. But that's how you do it using bones. So there we go. And this is all going to be keyed onto our character. So any other changes I want to make? Now this looks cool, I think. Looks good as is. Okay. So we're ready to export this guy out. Yeah, of course, NM. I hope that was helpful. Let's export this guy out. Let's save this, because sometimes on export you can get some funkiness. Rokoko, original content, projects, office hours, Mecha. And we are going to save this to our raw folder. We're going to call it Sean with mocap. Boom. Saved. Now we're going to export all. Sean with mocap. FBX export. Hit export. And if you get crashes using Maya, when you're exporting stuff like this, sometimes you need to set it to bake the animation and resample it. So sometimes that'll help. Sometimes you need to change the FBX type that it is. Like I'm in FBX 09 instead of 2020 because I was getting crashes with 2020. So you can tweak those things if you get crashes. Okay, so that's our Mech-Pilot. Now we need to have our mech. And for that, I have this great little character that I've used before. And this is something I got on Turbo Squid, I want to say. Pretty, a little pricey, but really amazing. And it was a 3DS character originally, which was pretty painful because I needed to figure out how to get it out into Maya and hook everything up. And what I've also done with this character, which I'm quite proud of, is I've hooked it up in such a way that, we'll see if this works. No, it has to be the clavicle. I've got aim constraints on all these pistons. So if you can see these pistons, they all actually move dynamically, which just gives it a really freaking cool look. I think, you know, I don't know if I set it up on the legs, but I think it's set up on the spine, is it? Let's see. Yeah. Anyway, cool. So this character is already set up. I've already got it rigged. Right here, as you can see. And we need to pull in our mocap. Import. Get that mocap. It's tinier. It shouldn't matter. We need to load in our HIK preset. There we go. And then we got it on our mech here. So this is looking freaking sick. And none of this is going to be... We're going to delete the animation for our mech because it's only going to be seen at the end. Yeah. Looks cool, though. Looks freaking cool, man. So we can stop this timeline at like 784. Boom. And what I'm going to do is just bake this to our skeleton. Looking cool. Again, it doesn't really matter on this one that the hands don't match because we're not going to be seeing it. All that matters is the part probably like right here. Cool. So we are looking good. And we're ready to export this guy out. And I'm going to do that. I'm going to export all into that raw. We're going to mech with mocap. We're going to get crash. Nope. We're going to be good. Sweet. So that's the Maya portion done. If anybody has any other questions, we can get into it. Coming up on about an hour here. And I can close out Maya. And we're going to actually put this scene together. Give me 1 sec. Okay. Back. So we are in Cinema4D, and we are going to put this guy together. And I'm going to move my little window back over here. Okay, so let's import some of our stuff and get it all set up. I'm going to go find those files. Right? No, I can't import both of them. Import Sean first. So he's really tiny, which is actually maybe okay. Didn't come in with all the textures, which is a little frustrating. Oh man, we might have to add these in. That's messy. That's very... Oh, you know why? You know what? Okay. Let's go back to Maya, and really quickly I'm going to re-export not in FBX09. I don't think that has textures. Maybe. But thankfully I've already done everything, so it should be pretty easy. Because I saved that project before we exported. Always good to save. And if anybody has any other questions or wants to talk about anything else, feel free to chime in, and we can go down a little rabbit hole, which is totally fine. Okay, let's try and export all, not FBX 2009, FBX 2020. Sean with mocap. I'm just going to overwrite it. No crashes, no crashes, no crashes. Okay. Try to do this again. Sean with mocap. We're going to get these materials, or we're going to have to add them in manually, which I'm not going to do on stream. I'm feeling good. Yep. They all came in. So these look great. 900, change our frames. And here we go. Look, we got our we got our little Sean here. Looking cool. And what's neat about Character Creator 3 is I could even like add in some blinks and stuff. Which maybe we'll do, because they have these blend shapes, blink, blink, and so you can, you can edit all this in post, or you can. This is how you use basically our facial motion capture as well. A little snarl. But anyway, this is Sean. He's looking great. We're gonna need to add some wristbands to him, but in the meantime, let's do a couple things. Let's add a plane. So Sean is really tiny. Sean's really tiny. I think we're going to make him a little bit bigger. So I'm going to select his entire character. Yeah, I don't know why he's set to 0.1. Something about exporting out of Maya. But yeah, there we go. We've got a little plane going. Whoa. What happened? Sean 111. Freeze transformations. Huh. Don't know. Let's try it one more time and let's key it. 111. Okay, we're just gonna leave them small. Should be fine. Don't know why that's happening. We could probably export it or import it at a different scale, and that would probably fix that. But it doesn't really matter because we are going to make him tiny anyway. Kind of. I'm trying to think if it matters. Can I import him at a different scale? Let's see. I think I could export him at a different scale. Let's try that. Export all. Where is it? It's under advanced units, not automatic. We are going to do centimeters. Sean with mocap. Overwrite. Delete. Delete all. Yep. Import him. See what happens here. So he's still really tiny. Let's try it one more time. Let's do meters. What are we going to get? What are we going to get on the roulette? Import. Okay, well, we're going to leave him small, and we're going to work around it, because I don't know why he's small, and I can't fix it. Okay, so we got Sean. I am going to group him in his own thing, just because. What the hell, man? I don't know why he doesn't want to be grouped. Okay, I guess we're not going to group him. We're just going to leave him out. Okay, so let's create our plane here. And let's merge in our robot. See what happens here. So the robot is actually kind of the right size, which is great. I'm going to get rid of some of these things. So they're just misbehaving. Looking cool. These guys, don't know why they don't stick. But as you can see already, so the Mech and Sean are doing the same thing. Mark, there is a way to do it. Do you have a specific reason now for Cinema4D? NM, it's basically because I'm most comfortable doing rendering and texturing and doing things in Cinema. That's just generally, that's just where I started in Cinema, so I always come back when I'm doing rendering, or I use Unreal. I don't really do a lot of rendering in Maya. I use it for animation setup. So that's just my workflow. You could do all this in Maya. This is just what I do. Mark, what is the optimum amount of mocap key? There is basically a way to decimate the number. If you're in Cinema4D, there's a very easy way, which is using the Cinema4D Rokoko plugin, which actually has an option when you are baking the mocap to your character to decimate the keyframes by 1 every other keyframe, or 1 every 3 keyframes, or 1 every 4 keyframes. You know, removing all 3 keyframes, keeping 1, removing 3 keyframes, keeping 1. It depends on what you're trying to get, generally. I think the optimum amount of keyframes to mimic a human is usually a lot. It's usually a key every frame. If you're trying to mimic a more hand-keyed style, like more of a character, kind of a Pixar type character, then a decimated amount of keyframes is better. You know, I usually work in 30 FPS, and I don't decimate my keyframes, and generally what's most important is adding motion blur, either in post or in render engine, you know. So that's what I find. So I don't know if I can, let's see if I can actually shrink our mech without breaking anything. Still looks good. Cool. So our mech doesn't give us those problems. Good questions, though, everyone. Continue asking, please. And so what I was thinking we could kind of do here, I'm going to pull my mic down so I can see. Is basically right here. We are going to have our animation start. It's going to pull back, you know, and we're going to see the character with the mech. So right when he hits his hands, that's when we want our mech animation to actually start. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to add a motion clip to my mech. Animate, add motion clip. And by adding an open mark, yeah, FBX motion files. Yeah, there's ways to decimate the keyframes. I would have to look it up. It it all just depends on what you're doing, I think. Anyway, I can basically kill or cut out this animation of the mech or actually what I can do is I'm going to select a single frame and I'm gonna expand it for the entire beginning. So now there we go. We kind of have our scene. Let's mock up a camera really quick. So I'm gonna get my Octane camera here. You know, maybe do like, I think we're gonna start right here. And we're just going to be pulling back. To here. And then we're really going to be pulling back. And we're just going to key the focal length as well. Something like that. So what do we got here? What do we got here? 211. Start it. Boom. Looks pretty cool. And maybe we'll just rotate this guy around a little bit. There we go. And yeah, this looks cool, I think. And then one thing that's great in Cinema4D is I like adding a motion camera. So if I select the camera that I'm using and go to Camera, Motion Camera, I can, this will follow that other camera's motion, but I can add a little, you know, a little drift, a little camera shake here. Which is always great, of course. Looking cool, I think. I don't know. And then the other thing that's cool is I can actually, on this model, go in and this character has these shape keys which allow me to get these blades out, which is pretty cool. So we are going to key this right here, and then boom, reveal the blades. Looking cool. So this is looking pretty good, I think. And this kind of takes us through. We could go through and do more, but I think just because we've run about an hour, I'm going to leave it here. I'm going to finish texturing this guy up a little bit so we have something fun to show for our work. But that is the, a basic workflow that that I use, when I'm making stuff in Cinema4D. I just really like using Maya for doing all the retargeting. And yeah, it just gives you a really great result. So, thanks for stopping by, everyone. I hope we answered some questions. Fun little session, fun little creative session. And we got some exciting news coming up very shortly. New updates, new stuff happening that I can't talk about yet, but excited to talk about in the coming months. And so stay tuned. Yeah, Mark, thanks for joining. Good to see you. Come back if you have any questions, or and also be sure to book that demo. I really do recommend it. We have a great team who can answer all your questions, whether it's about the suit or whether it's about your workflow. They're great. So yeah, I'm gonna leave it there and say goodbye. But thanks so much for joining, everyone. Thanks, Nick. And we'll see you on the next one. Okay. See you, everyone. Bye-bye.